Well, whatever we may or may not have been expecting, some quite remarkable scenes there. The beauty and the majesty of the Abbey. We often talk about heavy is the head that wears the crown, but it was hard not to see the responsibility of the position in the faces of both the King and the Queen, and the imprint of history at every turn, from the recognition at the start, talking with Anna earlier about the years of a contested throne, all the way through.
Okay, Daddy, talk later. Wait.
The neutrality of the Protestant faith, perhaps something to reflect on as we watch the procession move on.
1,000 years of history. A new chapter begins inside the Golden State coach. The King and Queen now wearing the robes of estate. The King wearing the robe of George VI. Queen Camilla, the robe which was made especially for her, embroidered with flowers from her wedding day, as well as emblems of the United Kingdom. Themes of nature and environment echoed through that service, not only in the flowers and the decorations in the great Abbey itself, but also threaded through this service. As we wait for that procession to start, we can have a look at the sheer scale of it. It is a mile long in total, with the journey from the Abbey to Buckingham Palace, 1.4 miles. 4,000 personnel have been forming up during the service and now wait in silence along the ceremonial route.
The procession is formed of 8 groups, supported by 19 bands. The Household Cavalry, Mounted Band, and the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery lead the procession, followed by 400 service personnel from the armed forces of the Commonwealth. They are followed by marching detachments from the RAF, 3 from the Army, then the Royal Navy.
The final group is the household procession, made up of close to 1,000 members of the household division who form the Sovereign's escort, and the guardsmen of the household division. 18 representatives of the realms will flank the Gold State coach.
Well, as I said, there were some remarkable scenes from this. I mean, I say, what were we expecting? Well, we knew exactly what to expect, but seeing it was quite something different. I think we all felt in the studio here, and perhaps I can now bring in our guests. It's hard to know where to start, isn't it? I mean, I talk about the centrality of the Protestant faith. You can see why the King has worked so hard to bring in other faiths, because it's a very striking part of the service. But could we just start? Maybe Anna, maybe I could start with you. The King, you really felt like you saw the weight of it all in the King's face, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, he looked like an old man, and he is the oldest monarch to be crowned at 74. And he looked overwrought with emotion at times. There really was a sense of sort of weariness, of, yeah, just a sense of what he's taken on. I think Camilla visibly relaxed, actually, once she was crowned. It's very hard to know what to make of it. Shakespeare wrote in Henry V, "What art thou, thou idle ceremony?" And you're kind of looking on it thinking, this can't not mean something. So what does it mean today? And I think that's what I'm still pondering.
Well, perfect moment to bring Lucy in, because at the centre of this service was a sacred ceremony, which the King would have felt deeply. Observing that from your liturgical point of view, from the Church of England's point of view, what did you make of it?
I mean, I thought that the tone of it was long, obviously. There's a lot of ceremony, a lot of different people involved, but the tone of it was thoughtful, I thought, and quite reflective. So it was celebratory, but it also had a kind of expansive feel to it, which I think is probably right for the moment. And every coronation liturgy is commissioned afresh by the Archbishop of Canterbury. So you can theoretically start with a blank sheet of paper, and of course you're going to recognise what's gone before, but the adaptations and I suppose the malleability and the adaptability of the church and the monarchy was on show today, and that, they have to evolve and move to survive. So I thought that there was plenty of that.
Worth just noting briefly, Lucy, female bishops. The involvement of female clergy in this moment, deeply significant.
Absolutely. The Bishop of London read the Gospel, the Bishop of Dover and the Bishop of Chelmsford administered communion. So it's really striking to see that certainly from a church point of view.
Certainly from your point of view.
Yes, of course. And the involvement of representatives of other faiths, the greeting at the end by representatives of other world faiths. All of that is incredibly important. Not just as a symbol, as a visual thing, but to make real, to demonstrate, I suppose, the reality of the UK today. Because these ceremonies don't work if they're too detached from reality. Of course, they're grand, and none of us has ridden in a coach, so there's a distance to some degree, but.
Jamie, can I just bring you in to talk about this? We're watching the Waleses go past here. What were your feeling as you watched all that?
Well, I thought it was, I echo what my fellow guests have said. I'm not, the only thing I would say is I'm not sure that it really matters if we can't define or write down what it means, because it's actually going to be, it's going to be interpreted by different sectors of the community, different people in different ways. I mean, for all of the people in the Commonwealth who have taken part in this parade, for all of the soldiers, it will have a very, very, very lasting memory and meeting. And for people up and down the country, the thousands and thousands of people on the Mall, it'll be something different. And apart from the centrality of the anointing and the crowning of the new monarch, actually, fair game. Interpret it as you will. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to do it on your own terms. I think it's lovely.
Let's just take a moment. It's the gold stagecoach, crown on top, fashioned from oak from Nelson's flagship. Let's just take a moment to take in the scene. quite sure what Louis was saying there. But a nation left to speculate. Really, the Cambridge's kids have somewhat been the stars of the sideshow, at least today. Bill, can we just bring you in here? Obviously, it's a magnificent.
Bill, indeed, we're looking at the front of the station in the screen place with the brigade major, Lieutenant Colonel James Shaw and his 4 High Cavalry troopers, just coming down to Victoria Gardens by the palace. Behind him were the mighty band of the Household Cavalry and the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, who fired a 6-gun salvo at the point of crowning of the King during the service. The girls' coach is actually at the back of this procession, which consists of 8 groups of 400. Commonwealth detachment after the mounted troops, then the Royal Air Force, then 3 detachments, 3 groups of the Army, then the Royal Navy, and then the 8th group in which the carriage is, which is the Household Division, the Royal Household.
The reason it's a little bit difficult to hear you, Bill, for us in the studio is that the front of this procession is already behind us here.
Yes,
It
that's
just
right.
gives you a sense of how the length that it is stretching.
It's about a mile, yes. Absolutely remarkable. And you can see the mass of it. I mean, this is the largest parade that I've ever seen, and I think it's the largest one since the last coronation. You can see all components of the armed forces now. We're just looking at the Commonwealth detachment there, 36 detachments, groups from the 36 Commonwealth countries with their flags carried by guardsmen on the flank of all 56 countries. And behind them the Royal Air Force in the Royal Air Force blue,